Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Mark, and in this video I'm going to be reviewing the round 6 rugby union match between Australian Wallabies and the New Zealand All Blacks played at Eden Park this weekend. So round 6 of the Rugby Championship was played in Auckland last night in New Zealand between Australia and New Zealand All Blacks, and what a game it was expected to be. The All Blacks haven't been beaten by Australia at Eden Park since 1989, and that's a pretty long record for them to try and break. But the All Blacks have lost a few games this season, so everybody was wondering whether or not the All Black best performance was going to come out, or whether the Wallabies were going to do a major upset at Eden Park. Well, the match got underway in front of a sellout crowd, and it was a pretty tight tussle for the first 15 minutes or so. Each team was really finding themselves out, although in the second minute Harry Wilson from the Wallabies was sin-binned, and that gave New Zealand at least a numerical advantage. And it wasn't long before the All Blacks front five were starting to dominate the game in terms of line-out, scrummage, and just a general round the field breakdown situation. The deadlock wasn't broken though until the 20th minute when Richie Mo'unga got a penalty kick, and that seemed to settle the All Blacks a little bit, and the floodgates started to open from there. We saw in the 22nd minute a Will Jordan try, a great try that went down the right-hand side of the field, and Jordan finished it off with a Mo'unga conversion. So the All Blacks went out fairly quickly to a great lead, and it wasn't long in the 27th minute where there was a penalty try awarded to the All Blacks. So by half time the All Blacks were already up 17 points to 0, and it was an indication that the All Blacks did dominate in the first half. The Wallabies seemed to be missing their structure. They got a second yellow card in that first half as well, which didn't help them, so they were down to 14 men most of the time, and they weren't able to really get their momentum going. But in all true fairness, the All Blacks didn't allow for that to happen, and I think the All Blacks would have been pretty happy going in to half time at 17 points to 0. The All Blacks had dominated throughout the first half, and in particular Lomax played a huge game in this match last night. He was everywhere in the tight, as well as securing ball from the All Blacks on a number of occasions. He had a mighty game, and Tyrell Lomax was one to watch out for in that All Blacks jersey. Well, as the second half got underway, everybody was wondering whether or not we would see yet another Australian comeback, and that's been the case in a lot of games between these two teams. The Wallabies seem to be able to find that extra gear to come back at the All Blacks and put them under a lot of pressure. But in the 43rd minute of the second half, when Sam Whitelock went over for a try, it was his 17th try in 140 test matches. He's been one of New Zealand's greatest players over a long period of time, and deservedly so. He got that try, and that put the All Blacks out to even greater lead. At that stage it was pretty much on the cards that the All Blacks were going to win this game, and it was just going to be a matter of how far they could go ahead. In the 53rd minute, Cody Taylor, who came into this test match and given another chance by the All Black selectors, went over for a try, and he was ably assisted by Lomax in that move where they were close to the line, and Lomax picked up Taylor and pushed him, and they got over for that particular try. At that stage the All Blacks went out to 32 points to 0, and it looked like the Wallabies were pretty much shut out of this match. But in the 59th minute there was a charge down kick from Mo'unga, and the Wallabies finally got over. Fainga ended up with the ball, and he scored the try for the Wallabies in the corner. And that was pretty much it for the Wallabies. The All Blacks continued to dominate again, and Takihoho, who's really been the player of this championship for the All Blacks as far as I'm concerned, he's had a stellar series, and he found himself another try for the All Blacks. Mo'unga got a late penalty, and in the 81st minute Jordan Pataya got a bonus try for the Wallabies, and the final score ended up being 40 points to 14 to the All Blacks. It was a pretty decisive win. The Irish referee did his best. We still had a number of yellow cards though in this match, and I think there's been a lot of chatter around the rugby world from fans of each nation about what's been happening with the flow of these games and how long these games are actually taking to be played. So I think, as we've seen this weekend again, we've seen an excessive amount of yellow cards, stoppages in play, and it's really affected the flow of the games. But there was no question about this game. The All Blacks dominated throughout. Their forwards were far too superior and they looked dangerous. Jordie Barrett played a great game at number 12, but it's giving Ian Foster and the coaching crew another option in that inside centre position. And I think the All Blacks defence last night too was really, really good. So there was a couple of times where Australia got closer to the line. Koroibete actually put his foot into touch while grounding the ball, and that could have been another Australian try. But other than that, the All Blacks defended their line very well when Australia came close to scoring. And I think it was based on that defence the All Blacks were able to push forward and dominate this game. So a good game for the All Blacks to win in Auckland. It keeps their winning streak at the Fortress of Eden Park intact for another year. So we'll go into the 29th season next year with the All Blacks still unbeaten at Eden Park for that period of time. The Wallabies will be disappointed. Dave Rennie said in the press conference afterwards that the All Blacks were too good in this game. The Wallabies were shaded in every area of the park, and the All Blacks just dominated and deserved the win. He also went on to say and to realise that maybe the Eden Park voodoo is a real thing, and the All Blacks tend to grow an extra set of legs when they play at Eden Park. So that's from the mouth of a Kiwi talking about the Eden Park spiritual home of New Zealand rugby and All Black rugby. So a great win for the All Blacks releases the pressure a little bit on Ian Foster until they start their Northern Hemisphere tour. And I think it's going to be on the back of that tour that Foster and his team are going to be fairly criticised or not, based on the games and the matches that they play when they go to Wales and England, as well as Japan as well, when they get onto that Northern Hemisphere tour. So it's going to be an interesting tour. We're going to stay with it. I'm going to be following those games here on the channel, and I'm also going to be following the Six Nations tournament this year as well. So if you want to see some more reviews from me on the world of rugby, then make sure you stay tuned to this channel. So interested to hear what you think about last night's game between the All Blacks and the Wallabies. Did you think the All Blacks played a much more dominating game? Do you think Eden Park was that factor? Or do you think some of these selection moves that Ian Foster and his crew of Joe Schmidt and Ryan Jones are making are starting to show some fruition now? So there we go. That wraps up round 6 from New Zealand, and on the basis of that particular win, it took New Zealand further in the lead in the Rugby Championship ladder. And it set up a great final game in South Africa at Kings Park between the South African Springboks and the Argentinian Pumas. South Africa had to win that game by 39 points, and they had to score a bonus point as well. So check out my video on that particular match to find out what happened and who ended up winning the Rugby Championship competition for 2022. Thanks very much for watching this video. Leave me your comments. Tell me what you thought about the All Blacks versus the Australian Wallabies game, and give the old thumbs up and a subscription to my channel if you want to continue watching my particular content. I'll see you again in the next video. Until then, enjoy your rugby, and I'll see you soon.